Hey, good morning, and welcome to this month's webinar. I'm here in the Hive. We are thrilled to have our special guest, Josh Denhart, with us, and all of our participants too. So I'm sure you already know our topic, but we'll just go over that again. Today, we're going to be talking about how we can equip our volunteers to have the best success for their fall launch, but not only for fall launch, but for other times of the year as you are leading kids and their families to find and follow Jesus. So I'm Kim. I get to serve as the Children's Ministry Manager for CTA, which stands for Christ to All. We exist to make sure that Christians are highly effective in their ministries in the church. We love to partner with churches. And specifically for CTA Kids, we love to partner with churches to equip families and to equip CMLs as they lead kids. So welcome this morning. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Josh is a friend of mine, and I think even if he isn't a friend of yours yet, he will be. Josh has a rich history. He served for over 10 years as a kids pastor. He's been, I want to say, a biology teacher, but it may be chemistry, so he may throw me under the bus in
Chemistry.
a second if I get it wrong. Thank you, chemistry teacher.
There's the
He is
periodic table right there.
he, he's a brilliant man. He is also the founder and the leader of Lead Ministry, a master course and downloadable system that equips ministry leaders in volunteer training and retention. He also has the amazing chemistry show, a science-based, faith-focused resource, which it blows things up. It's super fun. If you are looking for someone to come to your church and teach your kids through fire and all kinds of exciting things, Josh is your guy. He and his wife, Sarah, also do family ministry. I think they're called seminars in your church. Another resource that you would just want to look into. So obviously, Josh does all things ministry, but today we are specifically going to focus on kids ministry. He is also a published author, a children's ministry columnist, and even been on TV. Look at you, Josh. I didn't know this about you till today. So welcome, Josh, and I'd love for you to
Welcome.
introduce yourself and welcome our
Yeah.
guest.
Well, my name is Josh Denhart. Super grateful that you folks are here. Yeah, I had a really interesting opportunity where I got to be on like a local morning show on repeat. They had me back quite frequently to do a bunch of science stuff. Now, the other thing, Kim, since you don't know this, um, after one of the I don't know, opportunities to be on TV with the science stuff, one of the um, co-hosts for this morning program, um, they said, "Hey, would you be a substitute whenever this person is gone, or whenever I'm gone? Would you be the guy to like sit in and be like the 4-hour morning show?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" So I did that quite a handful of times. It was super fun, but I learned a lot. It was fun, but it was also rather exhausting. So,
Yeah.
but grateful that you guys are here. As Kim shared, I do have this thing called the Amazing Chemistry Show. I'm heading out tomorrow for a 17-day chemistry show run, 8 different churches. It'll be a lot of fun. So excited about that. The other thing too is I have this thing called Lead Volunteers, leadministry.com, which just helps leaders really to be truthful.
Mm.
Every one of the things inside of Lead Volunteers truly is kind of the pathway that I dug myself out of a really bad hole that I was placed in, right? I don't know about you, but sometimes you take an assignment from God and you're like, is this a suicide mission? What do we have going on here?
Yeah.
This is harder than I anticipated. And so the means by which I dug myself out of a really disheveled and beat up ministry,
Mm.
I kind of codified all of those things and made it into a series of
Mm.
courses. The flagship course is called Lead Volunteers. And so that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. I kind of like help people to recruit, train, and retain volunteers. And today we're going to talk about recruiting. Um, it is that time. I know that it's June. We're just in the middle of VBS. What do you mean we're talking about recruiting? Well, as we walk
Mm.
through today, recruiting doesn't happen overnight. It is an elongated process, and in a sense, you do need to begin to start now for fall recruiting. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I do have one bold promise. Some of the things that we're going to talk about today will immediately affect in a positive way your recruiting strategies. My question to you is, what would your life be like if you stopped doing ineffective things and experienced immediate results? Who doesn't want that? There are a list of things that we're going to talk about today that I personally did. I found little to no results. And then there was just a couple of things that I did and I found extreme results. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Enough about me. I do want to introduce you to the sworn enemy of all who are in ministry. This is burnout.
Mm.
Here's what I want to tell you. You, as a children's ministry leader, are living your very own movie. It's called your life. I think of my life sometimes as a movie, like a screenplay. And here we are. We're living this movie, this screenplay of our lives, your one and only life. And it's hard. It's got its positives, it's got its challenges. But then off to the side, you don't know this, but the great cloud of witnesses watching this movie of your life, they get to see this and they see this ominous character, right? This character, burnout, enter into the picture. The music kind of changes and the audience is like, oh my word, there's a lot at stake here. This could go really bad. And if you haven't met burnout, I want to let you know that it's only a matter of time. I'm sorry to say it. I don't think that there's anything that you can do to avoid it. And here's why. We have a problem. Sunday is always coming. Not only is Sunday always coming, Saturday night cancellations are coming as well. Am I right? That's just a reality. Another thing, often what I have seen with leaders all around the country is a lack of organization. That leads to being overwhelmed. That leads to being scattered if you're not organized, and it leads to you being behind. Okay. So if you're lacking organization and you're feeling overwhelmed, and you're feeling scattered, and you're feeling behind, what ends up happening is that we start to recruit by desperation. Now, if you've been in a ministry context for any time, I will just about guarantee that you found yourself backed against the wall, knowing that Sunday is coming. This particular individual is breathing and they claim to be a Christian, and you're like, okay, I don't have time to do anything but employ them and implement them. And I call it recruiting by desperation. And that can be pretty dangerous. And in the short term, it seemed to work, but of course, the plot thickens. If your current volunteers burn out, you're doomed. So, in other words, you have this benchmark of it might just be too hard for them. It's crazy, it's chaotic, and it's chaotic because of me. If the current people drop out, you're in big trouble. However, if you earn a bad reputation, you're double doomed. What do I mean by that? Listen, I'm not saying that people are out to gossip about you or say bad things about you, but here's a reality that I think you need to know. If Connie over here has a friend, Jane, over here, and Connie says, hey, Jane, you and I are good friends. We're kind of in an accountability thing. And Josh Denhart has asked me to serve in children's ministry. You know my life. You know my craziness. What do you think? And Jane, being a good friend, might look at Connie and say, you know what? It's just probably not a good idea. I think your life is too crazy. And Jane knows this because of the insanity of the ministry that I was running. And it wasn't as healthy as it could be. Point being, if we earn a bad reputation, we're in a pickle. So, this is what we never wanted. Ministry can be reduced to being a frenzied scheduler. I don't want that. That's not a high enough calling. My calling is to share Christ and to disciple people to become players in the kingdom of God. Okay, so here's one bold promise that I'm going to make. I'm going to help fulfill on this promise through three simple, what I'm calling recruiting secrets. And I do believe that your efforts at recruiting will immediately skyrocket. So let's jump in. Number one, this is a spiritual truth. God's math exists, and so do his solutions. Here's what I want to say. God's math exists. I had to learn a different calculus. I had to learn a different math equation. Here's the thing. Jesus said, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Let me stop everything and say, if Jesus said this, you can take it to the bank. It is always going to be a problem. It is always going to be that you're shorthanded. This is not something that all of a sudden, through your great ingenuity or all of these tricks that I'm providing you today or these suggestions, the facts of the matter are the harvest is plentiful and the workers are few. However, Jesus also said, therefore, pray to the Lord of the harvest that he might raise up workers. Facts, it's going to be hard. Facts, God's math definitely exists. One thing that I want to tell you just as an aside, maybe you found this to be true. But sometimes in the great state of Iowa, we get a lot of snow, right? And on Thursday night, we had from Thursday to Saturday, let's imagine that we had about 60% of our volunteers fall off of the map. They call in, they text us, and we're, whoa, freaking out. Well, little do I know that there is a storm impending on Saturday night that makes such a huge snowdrop that the majority of the people who attend our church didn't come. And the 40% of volunteers, which would have been chaos and a train wreck, it actually worked out to be the perfect ratios. I don't know if you've ever found that to be true, but my point is that God's math exists. He ends up taking care of us and his solutions exist. So, bottom line, you have to understand there is a spiritual side to this. This is not just tactics and practice and all of these little tricks of the trade. There is a spiritual element that we have to own. And never forget, God cares way more about this ministry that you are leading than you care about this ministry that you're leading. Okay, that's our spiritual piece. Number two, we're going to go very, very, very practical. There are things that you should be doing way less of, and there is one thing that you should be doing more of. Okay, here's some things that we're going to start with the stop. What things should you just literally stop doing? Number one, you should stop asking your senior pastor to plead from the pulpit, like begging people from the pulpit. I remember years and years and years. By the way, Kim, can you see my text on there or is it hard to see? Can you see it okay? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see it.
I can kind of see it, yes.
Okay, so do me a favor, everybody. If you could make sure that you are on, up to the top right, it says view. Make sure that you click on speaker view and then double click on my,
look at that.
picture. Much better, right?
Josh always teaches me all about technology. Thank you.
Yes, so you should see my screen big. I'm sure, Kim, that looks a lot better, does it not? Okay, very good. So senior pastor pleading, here I was. We were up against the wall and I went to my senior pastor and I said, hey, we desperately need help in the nursery. It is at a critical, critical position. And so he begrudgingly, stick with me on this story, he begrudgingly agreed. He got up, pretty much carved his entire message based around doing family chores. And he had this big call to action and he asked people to, commit. And guess what? Stick with me here. 91 people filled out a card and put a check mark that said they would be willing to help in the nursery. Now, all of a sudden, you may think in your mind, oh my word, what a victory! How huge is that? Now, before you get all revved up, here's what I want to say. Okay, wait. Yes. Let's stay with the victory for just a minute. 91 people. What in the world? Now watch this. We, as a children's ministry team, we were prepared for this. We had cleared the deck. We knew that, let's say that 90 people signed up. We had prepared our week to respond to whoever came. We had no tasks. We had postcards already predetermined, printed out, labels on them, waiting to put in an address and a thank you. We had cleared the deck for phone calls, for emails. We had Listen to me. We had even pre-scripted emails that said thank you and had a job description and had attachments. We were literally waiting with bated breath for whoever came our way. Can you give me a congratulations? Did we do a good? Thank you. We were ready for a flood of people. We weren't sitting on our hands. Now watch carefully. 91 people came in. We were like, okay. And the senior pastor was like, he was puffed up and he was like, man, you asked me to jump into the game and look what I can do. Now stick with me. If you're thinking in your mind, wow, problem solved. No, wait. Please remember that I just told you that we need to stop asking the senior pastor for help. You're like, wait, but you got 91 people. Folks, of those 91 people, we emailed them, we called them, we sent texts to them, we sent a postcard. We did every single thing right. And what I'm getting ready to tell you is a true story. At the end of 2 weeks, we had 2 people who had said yes. And at the end of 6 weeks, we had 1 person who was hanging on. And at the end of 6 months, goose egg, we had nobody. Now, stick with me for just a moment. We had 91 people come in, and yet in 6 months' time, we had nobody. Not to mention, we had completely spent time, energy, calling. We cleared our deck. We did this, spun our wheels. Nothing came as a result. Now, if this was a more of an interactive breakout, I'm sure I could ask for questions, but here's what I want to tell you. I want you to think in your mind, why? Why did it not translate? And here's why. It's super easy for an individual to check a box. The senior pastor put on this massive guilt trip. He had this emotional thing. He had music rise. And when the music was done, he asked people to commit, and people did, but their commitment was extraordinarily shallow. It did not revolve any relationship whatsoever. And so I want to tell you, don't make the mistake that I did. Now, stick with me. Years later, the senior pastor said, hey, I have a perfect way. I have a perfect way to include a shout out to children's ministry. This is a number of years later. Did I tell him no? I did not tell him no. I graciously accepted that, but I knew that it would probably result in little to no results whatsoever. Any results that came, fantastic. However, that first time around, that story with 91 people, we were banking on this being a success for us. Don't bank on your senior pastor pleading. It just doesn't work. Drum roll, please. The cute video. Oh, drama. You get this gift, right? And the senior pastor says, hey, I gotcha. We're going to give you a 30-second, you know what? I'm feeling gracious. 60-second video. And you and your team are sitting back in your office. And your eyes start to well up. And you're tearing up at this video, and you're just banking on the idea that this is going to cause people to have a heart change and want to participate in children's ministry. You want to know why you had the Kleenex that you had to grab? It's because you have a calling and you understand what's on the line when it relates to children's ministry. The rest of the congregation, they are literally sitting through, like maybe 10% are watching the video. The rest are kind of getting squared up. They're getting their pen ready. They're, getting they're waiting. This is a waiting until the sermon happens. So every time that I was offered an opportunity to have a cute video, yes, I did it, but I wasn't banking on it. Now remember, after the senior pastor pleading, we then had a cute video, and we had a little booth out in the atrium. We had our pencils sharpened. We had our pens. We made sure they were working. We had our sign-up sheets, and it was ghost town. Now I do ministry coaching all across the country, and I've seen this many times. They said, we're so disappointed. I said, what are you disappointed about? Nobody signed up. I said, well, That's a piece to the strategy. It is not the entirety to your strategy. Don't bank on a cute video. Ain't gonna work. Drum roll, please. How about accosting people in the hallways? I call this drive-by recruiting, maybe drive-by guilting. Been there. Have you been there? Have you done that? And you are literally trying to stop people in the hall. And here's what I want to tell you. This is a really, really, really harsh one. If all of a sudden you're walking down the hall this way, and when people see you coming this way and they go that way, guess what? That is an anti-recruiting strategy. If people are running from you, that is not a recruiting strategy. That is a rejection strategy. So stop drive-by recruiting. You're not leveraging relationship. You're leveraging guilt. Okay, here's a story for you. Bulk emails. Bulk emails for the fail, right? They say bulk emails for the win. No, bulk emails for the fail. Now, the story I'm getting ready to tell you, please listen very, very, very carefully. This is a story where I am placing myself under the bus. The failure was on me, not on my associate Carter. Now, listen to me now. We had been in the game for a while. We had finally shored things up. We were a lot healthier, and we had a new associate. His name was Carter. And Carter had a whole bunch of people to find for his Wednesday night and for his Sunday morning. Now, stick with me. I operate, you can see this little triangle thing here. There's the 12, there's the 3, and there's the 1. This is my kind of like leadership strategy. Carter was part of the 12, but the 3 was Amy, Andy, and Beth. Those were my insider 3. And Amy, Andy, and Beth, we all looked at Carter, who was off in his little cubicle. We said, you know what? He's going to have a hard time, isn't he? We all agreed, and we said, well, let's be gracious, and let's look. Listen to me now. Let's look through our rosters, and let's find people who happen to have a kid in 4th grade, but they often had a kid who was in 1st grade. They were serving with Andy in the 4th through 6th grade because they had a kid in 4th through 6th grade, but we also identified they had a kid in 1st grade. So Andy said, they're really good. They're super committed. They're almost a guaranteed yes for me. I will sacrifice that person and I'll hand them to Carter so that he can have a good first run with people. So Amy, Beth, Andy, they all sacrificed some of their people and we provided them to Carter. Stick with me now. This is where I failed. So Carter decides to type an email to all of these people, right? He's got his little keyboard. He types this thing out. For double cringe worthiness, you want to know what he did? He actually stuck everybody's names in the CC, not the BCC. Just saying. Not that bad, but just a little extra cringeworthiness. He types this things, he clicks send, and guess what? We all went to lunch, and within 45 minutes, every one of those people had replied back to him saying, hey, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to take this year off. What just happened? And in my mind, I was like, what have we done? We literally gave him this awesome opportunity with some almost for sures. Well, here's what I want to tell you. The reason that it went bad is that it was devoid of any relationship whatsoever. It was way too easy for them to say no. Just like the senior pastor pleading, way easy to check a box and then kind of blow it off. It was way easy for them to say no to an email because there was no relationship. Now, again, I told you I was putting myself under the bus because I made some big assumptions that Carter would know that it comes down to a voice-to-voice or at least a voice-to-voice or a face-to-face. He didn't know that. The reason he didn't know it is because I didn't tell him. So don't do the bulk email. It's not going to work. The last one that you need to stop we kind of alluded to this earlier, is thinking that recruiting is somehow going to go fast. It's not gonna go fast. Now, what I'm getting ready to do is a little bit, I'm gonna spaz out a little bit here, Kim, and that's okay. And I'm gonna spaz because everybody is gonna relate to this. And it goes like this. It is now Thursday night. Here we go. I'm gonna try to do my best to do this fast and to get into frenzy mode. It's Thursday night at 7 p.m. I'm at the church. I'm away from my family. I have this honking huge pallet of papers with blanks on them. I need all of them to be filled. I have the church directory out. I have the phone sitting right there, and it's Thursday night. Why am I not there on a Monday night? Because my wife teaches piano. I can't do that. Why am I not on Tuesday night? I am going to do Tuesday nights, but that's next week. I can't do Wednesdays because we have programming. I'm going to do Thursdays, but not a single person is ever going to return or want to accept a phone call on a Friday night, and I'm certainly not going to do it on a Saturday. So really, I'm left with two things, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm going to sacrifice my own. By the way, why am I not calling them during the day? The reason I'm not calling them during the day is that they have a job. So I have to be at church on the when they're at home. Okay, here we go. Thursday night, 7 p.m. I call people. Goes to voicemail. I choose not to leave a voicemail. Why not? Because it's super easy to say no to a voicemail. So I wait until Tuesday. Call, another voicemail, same person. I decide not to leave a voicemail. Thursday comes. Now I'm a week out now. I finally get this person on the phone. I have a wonderful 7 minute, not 30 minute, 7 minute conversation with them where I share my heart. I share who I see they are and how they could fit. They said, wow, this feels great. I have to ask my spouse, can you give me a call back in a week? Yes. Now we're back to this Thursday. By the way, I want you to multiply this by 80 people. 80 people. That's who I have to find. 80. That was a light year, mind you. So all of a sudden now I got this one person. Now we're 2 weeks out. I call them back, goes to voicemail. Okay, call them back on Tuesday. Oh my word, I totally blew it. I forgot to call my wife. Can you call me next Thursday? So not this Thursday, but now we're looking at 4 weeks out for one person. And I call them on the phone. Nothing. I call them back on Tuesday. They say, hey, listen, it's not going to work this year. This is good. Wow. So I spent 4.5 weeks. There's my half right there. 4.5 weeks following up with a person who ended up saying no. Take this times 80. The idea that this is going to be fast or that all of a sudden you're going to spend, oh, honey, all I got to do is spend one evening at church and it's all going to doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. It is an elongated, hard thing. So the idea that it's going to go fast is a fail. I want to end with what to stop, which is going to lead me beautifully for what to start. Okay, so remember, I was at church on a Thursday night. This was the very first inaugural Thursday. This was my very first time ever doing this kind of thing. I'd been a high school chemistry teacher before. I don't know what I'm doing. I love God. I love the Bible, but I'm completely ill-equipped. And I looked down on my table, and this is a true story. I looked down on like my desk. I had it completely set up. I had Wednesdays and this other group for Wednesday and this group for Sunday and this group for Sunday. I had everything totally laid out. My desk was clean. My office was immaculate. All I had to do was fill all of these slots. Lo and behold, I look down at the papers. I look at the phone. And then I look to heaven and I say, God, I don't think this is reasonable. I had 125 people that I needed to find, and there was not a single other person on my team. Now, I want you to put this math on. 125 people. And I looked at the phone and these sheets and I said, God, I don't think this is reasonable. And then God, in the way that only God can, please pay attention. This is one of the most important parts of our talk today. God impressed upon my heart. Some might say God spoke. Well, he impressed upon my heart, and it was as if God said, hey, Josh, can I ask you a question? What has volunteering done in your life? And I teared up, and I was like, oh, my word. Like, I know the Word of God better. I know you, God, better. I know way more people at this church. I have tons of relationships. I've actually seen you provide in action. I have relationships with people and kids who I've ministered to in the list of things of benefits to my one and only life because I've served is super long. Thank you. And then God turned the tables and said, Josh, do you think that I am capable of doing all that I did in you for every one of these people? You see, I'm capable of changing their life just like I changed yours through volunteering. We just have to get these people in the seat and I can do the rest. And so all of a sudden now, I even got goosebumps right now. And my heart exploded and I was like, God, it was like double tears. And I said, I can get behind that. What volunteering did in me was cause me to grow as a Christian. And I want these people, that's the highest order of my pastoral calling, is for people to grow in Christ. So therefore, I can get behind this. And now I rushed to the phone. And now I wasn't selling people some weirdo chance to participate, and fill a slot. I was I was calling people to deeper service in Christ that was going to cause them to grow. I could get behind that. And so now calling these people wasn't really a burden. It was beautiful. And so here's what I want to tell you. Definitely stop thinking of this as slots to fill and start thinking of it like this. It says this, but we proved to be gentle among you as a nursing mother tenderly cares for her own children, having so fond of an affection for you. We were well pleased not only to impart to you the gospel of God, but also our very own lives, because you had become very dear to us. Hear me out real quick. This was not a transaction where I was providing them the gospel of God. I was literally giving my life to them. Hear me out. Back in the day, I would tell people on a recruiting call, here's my phone. I would say, hey, I just got to let you know. Although it's not that great of a trade, you get me. You get me. I will be in your court. I will be your friend. You will be a part of a tight, tight, tight group. You get me. I know it's not, and everybody laughed, right? It was kind of a joke on purpose, but I meant it. And if you served with me, I was all in with you. And I would take care of you. I would pray with you. I would find out about your life. We walked through life together. And I truly think that people want this. And so it wasn't some type of a slot to fill. It was calling people to a deeper sense of depth in Christ. And I could help them to fulfill on that. So the answer is do less. Do less. Don't do all of those silly stop things. The senior pastor pleading, the cute video, the accosting people in the hall, the bulk emails, thinking recruiting is going to be fast. It is not. It is a people business. And thinking that we have slots to fill. Trash all of that and start getting into the idea that this is people's lives and you get to enrich their life. Not only by them participating in ministry, which is going to enrich them, but they're going to be enriched because I'm pouring into them and I'm going to be extraordinarily intentional. That changes everything. So there it is. There's number 2. You should be doing way less of certain things and do one critical thing, which is deeper relationship with people. You're like, well, wait, Josh, that takes time. Totally get it. Totally get it. Okay, we talked about the spiritual, God's math. We talked about the practical, what you should slow down and stop doing and what you should do more of. Now we're going to talk about this very, very, very tactical. Like this is kind of a plan. You need a plan, but do you have one? Well, here's what I want to show you. This is the plan. We're going to walk through 10 simple things. This is a hallmark right here. Yes, this is going to be a hallmark of everything we talked about. This is straight out of Lead Volunteers. This is the framework right here, and we're going to talk through every one of these. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, here's the first thing. The first one is this. You need a top 10 list. I'm going to see if this view would work better. Can you see that a little bit better? How about? I know you're not going to be able to see this sheet. It's fine. This is just don't worry about the sheet. You just need to take a couple of notes. You need a top 10 list. Now you're like, whoa, 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 Josh, I have 43 people. Don't care. We'll deal with the 33 others later. You need a top 10. That's it. Once we get that top 10 achieved, we're going to have another top 10. But the top 10, I need you to dream big. When I say dream big, I'm talking the dream team. Years and years and years ago, I had a guy who was a pastor at the church. I was only volunteering, and I had a very high capacity role as a volunteer. But this pastor, literally, Kim, got down on his knees in the parking lot of the church and began to bow down to me in a super awkward way and says, "We're not worthy. We're not." I was like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I have a question for you. How is it that you got Steve Durek and Lynn Ehrenberg and Paula Osborne? How did you get Warren Erickson? How did you get Kim Hudson? How did you get this crowd of people to serve with you?" And I said, they're the best in the church. That's how I got them, because I thought, who do I want? That's what you got to do. You got to come up, shoot big, go really big. Find a top 10 list. Now, watch this. We're going to get practical now. Know your people. The second piece is you need to begin to stalk them. You're like, stalking? Yes, stalking. Yes. I'm talking go on Facebook. I'm talking go on LinkedIn, go on Instagram, go ask other pastors. I'm going to find out any and all things about that person, including, but not limited to, where did they used to serve? Why are they not serving there now? What does their husband do for a job? What does this guy's wife do for a job? How many kids do they have? Do they have any kids that have issues? I'm literally going, by the way, this is not weird gossip. What this is intelligent pre-pastoral recruiting. I'm finding out everything that I can. So that's number 2. Know your people. Another one. This is called circle of influence. Circle of influence. Stick with me for just a moment. It's very, very simple. It's a very tactical thing. Watch this. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to take my 10 sheets of paper, literal 10 sheets, my top 10, and I'm going to now rearrange them in terms of who do I know best and who do I know least. If it is a 0 or a 1, all I know is that this person was recommended to serve with me. I don't know that I could pick them out of the crowd. Let's call that 0. All the way to a 5. This person has been inside of my kitchen and they have sat on my kitchen counter. That is a 5. A 4 is this person has been to my house or I've been to their house, but it was still kind of a formal dining thing. They didn't sit on my kitchen table. You see where I'm going. It's this ranking of how well I know them. I rearrange my sheets so that I call the people that I know best first. Why? Because I don't do recruiting every single day of my life. Guess what? I'm probably a little bit rusty. I don't have all of my language dialed in. And a person who's a 5, they are just a little bit more gracious and a little bit more forgiving than a person that I simply don't know. I need to grease the gears. I'm going to start with somebody who is my 5, not with my 1. Am I making sense? It's very practical, but I've done this for years. Circle of influence, rearrange, mark your people, who knows who. Here's a great one. It kind of fits with the top 10. Don't say no for anybody. Don't say no for anybody. By the way, that guy, Steve Durek, he is one of the most winning lawyers in the state of Iowa. He was not only a partner at a firm, he was on every different Christian nonprofit board. He was a highly sought after guy because he was an absolute baller. He was everybody's number 1. And I asked him for years and he said no. And that may have caused me to go, oh man, I don't want to get rejected again. Are you kidding me? How do I know? How do I know that the Christian school board that he's on, he's getting tired of that? How do I know that he's done with this other thing. And now he's literally been like, dude, what could, boom, Josh Denhart calls, let's do Camp Survivor. That sounds ripping awesome. And then he's with me for the next 4 years and he becomes a Game Guy Steve. And to this day, people still call him Game Guy Steve 15 years later. My point is this. Do not say no for anybody. That other pastor who did the weird bow down thing. I think he was probably saying no for people because he's like, well, Paula Osborne is way too busy. Well, how the heck would you know? Duh. She wasn't too busy for me. So don't say no for him. Okay, this next one. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. The majority of people who are listening are not going to do what I'm getting ready to say. This is where I'm going to lose you, but this is where you can win. Memorize, normalize, personalize. Please understand that you have a whopping 7 minutes to get your pitch, to get your vision past, to connect what you feel God is doing in this ministry and this person's unique gifts and abilities. You got 7 minutes, maybe 9. You don't have 34 ever-loving minutes to drone on and have false starts. You have to have your stuff dialed in. It's called memorize, normalize, personalize. Again, I know people are like, oh, but I want the Spirit to lead. Dude, the Spirit can lead when you're writing your script. The Spirit can lead when you're writing your soon-to-be memorized script. I'm not even kidding. I had a packet that was like 13, 14 pages long, and it's in Lead Volunteers. And what that packet has is every common pushback. They say, oh, you know what? I have an irregular schedule. Page 12. You know what? And I had an answer for what somebody with an irregular schedule, how they could partner with us. They said, you know what? I just really don't know the Bible that well. Page 4. Here's my answer for that. Now watch this. Did I have those things memorized? Well, I wrote them out. I had them pretty much kind of set to memory, but before long, I got used to my script and it was now normal. I wasn't like, this is I don't have a piece of paper, but I'm gonna pretend like it's paper. I understand that you have an irregular schedule. I am a robot. I sound like a fool. You probably don't want to serve with me. Duh. Memorize it, but normalize it and be so familiar with it that you can personalize it and go off-roading. And you can talk about their life, their stuff, and how you can make their Listen, memorize, normalize, personalize. There was a person who was at one of the larger, I mean, it was about 7,000 people. It's a pretty stinking large church, okay? Not the largest, but a pretty large church. She ended up stopping being a children's pastor and became a sales representative for a big, like a bunch of homes. She was now selling, she was like a real estate person. And she got onto a webinar and she said, I can't believe how bad I messed it up as a children's ministry director. And she said, when I got into the sales world, I needed a dialed in script. And she said, it was so easy. And then I knew to anticipate things. And that's exactly what I'm suggesting that you do. Memorize, normalize, personalize. By the way, nothing short of a tap on the shoulder. A tap on the shoulder. No emails, no silly senior pastor giddy up. No dressing up like a gorilla in the atrium to make a spaz of yourself. It is simply a tap on the shoulder, one person to one person. You're like, Josh, I got 84 people. I've got 43 people. Don't care. You stood in this line. This is the job under which you've been called. It comes down to personalization. It is a tap on the shoulder. It is a one-on-one vision casting, sharing what you think God is doing and how you see this person, this unique one-off person, who their unique gifts and abilities. It's a tap on the shoulder. Okay, I'm going to go fast through this one. You got to connect as a shepherd. One of the biggest, every one of these things, by the way, team, is because of my failures. One time I sat across from a guy at a lunch and I had this elongated 30-minute pitch and I was just wheeling and dealing and I was sending it out and I could see his vibe and he was with me. He was getting it. And then at the end I said, and what do you think, Bill? And he smiled, and then his composure changed. He said, well, my mother-in-law's moving in with us because my wife has another entire round of chemo. We thought it was over, but it's back. And I'm changing jobs. Within my job, it's going to be a seriously chaotic time in our lives. And I felt like a fool. Why? Because I didn't ask at the beginning of the conversation, hey, Bill, what's God doing in your life? He would have opened with, I got a new job and this is scary. My wife and this thing, and my mother-in-law's moving in, and I would have taken off my recruiting hat and I would have put on my pastoral shepherding hat. Big difference. You got to be a shepherd, not a recruiter. By the way, if you connect and love people, it's only a matter of time before you're going to find them on your top 10 list and they're going to say, you know what, they actually did care for me. Next one, be excited. I'm going to go fast on this one. I guarantee that if I stood on a street corner and I had a packet of Q-tips and I was super excited, I will guarantee you that I could gather a crowd with Q-tips. But I don't have something as lame as Q-tips. I'm talking about the kingdom of God, about making a difference in children's lives, that by age 13, somebody's whatever they believe is likely what they're going to believe dying. Somebody by age 5, their moral foundation's been set. This is a high calling. Get excited. Don't come in and go, oh, I know. It's just, I know it's not that cool. And we really need you. And I just want to go ahead and apologize right now that I'm such a burden. Whoosh. Stop with yourself. Get over yourself. Get excited. This is your calling. Next one, opportunity versus loss. This next one is extremely important. Watch carefully. There is a balance. Don't think for a moment that you're not taking something from them, because you are. But you're also giving them something. Listen carefully. Opportunity, what you're giving them. Loss, what it's going to cost them. I do not gloss over this. I've had ministry leaders who were like, well, don't tell them at all that they're going to be missing out on the first 2 songs if they're going to be the check-in volunteer. Okay, ding dong, I got a better idea. How about you overtly tell them this is going to come at a cost to you, and you are going to miss the first 2 songs every other week. I want to make sure that you know that. However, so that's the loss. I'm low lighting this, but I'm highlighting the idea that the greatest demographic of growth at our church is young families. And some young, disheveled mom needs to see your face because you, Kim Hudson, have a yes face. I'm now personalizing it to who you are. You have a yes face, and this role demands a yes face. You can make a supreme difference. It's going to cost you 2 songs, but I think it's going to make a great difference in the kingdom. So, opportunity versus loss. Last one, we already talked about it, is recruiting is discipleship. If I get them in the seat, they are going to grow. They are going to experience God, and they're going to have a mentor, me or somebody else on my team that's going to be pouring into them. So, bottom line, you do need a step-by-step plan, and it needs to be as tactical and as practical as a checklist of the top 10 things. The stalking, yes. Have you stalked them? Good. The circle of influence, rearrange your sheets, and so on. Okay, so Kim, I wanted to just check with you how we're doing here.
We're doing good. It's 10:50. I know you have a commitment, so we're gonna
Yes,
kind
we're
of
good.
get
My
you.
guy
Are
just
we good?
texted me and he
Okay.
said that he'll be here a little bit late.
Okay, good. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but my hair's blown back. Josh, always you blow me away with your wisdom, with your knowledge, and I took notes.
Good
And I'm
job.
not even leading a kids ministry right now because I've learned something else today that I didn't know before, and I've sat under your teaching many times. But what I want to tell you, all of our friends that are with us, is we have a few minutes. Josh has a
Please.
wealth of information. It may be something about volunteers or ministry that you've been asking. You want to ask somebody. Here he is. Do it now. Put it in our
Yes.
chat. Unmute. Ask the question. We're going to take a few minutes for that because
And if
every
there's
time I
any,
hear Josh speak, I learn something.
bless you. If there's anything that somebody types in, Kim, just be our
Yes,
translator for
I
us,
will
okay?
be. I will 100%. So far, what I see is thank you, Josh. But if anyone has a question and you want to unmute, you're welcome to do that, or you're welcome to put it in the chat. One thing I wrote down that I loved: get excited. It's your calling. Yes, yes, yes.
Yep, it
It
is.
does
And
hurt our hearts when we realize that not everyone has the same passion and calling that we do, but we need to overflow it. We need to let people know this is our calling. This is what we're passionate about. They might just catch the flame, and that
Exactly.
passion might just burn into them too.
And I would say, Kim, not only do I agree and not only well stated, but I think that it's so shameful when people open with an apology. What? What are you talking about? You've got kingdom work, you've got treasure in heaven, you have lives to be influenced, and you're apologizing? You
That's right.
just shot yourself in the foot with a double barrel shotgun. You got one more shot, and you're not gonna, it's bad. Bad for you.
Right.
Don't
And
open with an apology.
and don't do this either. Don't go in with, well, we know kids ministry is the lesser ministry. It is not the
Oh
lesser
my
ministry.
word.
It is
No,
not
just
the
stop.
lesser ministry. Stop that.
No, 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 no. But watch this. You just telegraphed and projected to them that this is lame.
Right.
Okay, I don't want to serve on a lame thing. I want to serve on an awesome thing. So
That's
be
right.
awesome and people will follow.
They will. Awesome. That's
Okay, if
100%
nobody
correct.
has a question, what you could do is just unmute and tell me the thing that you're going to walk away with. I think that could be just as valuable. Not
Yep.
necessarily a question, but what's a thing um, like Sarah,
That's good.
Sarah
Yeah.
A. Talk to us. What's something that you are going to walk away with today?
So, well, I was actually going to ask a question.
Please.
Um, I serve at a church that our congregation is primarily elderly. And so we've tried to do a lot of these things. And the answer that we constantly get is, I've served my time, or I'm too old to be with the children. And so, we've identified these places where they can serve if they don't want to serve with children, but we don't need 50 people who are handing out water at VBS. Like, we need those people who are actively getting involved with the children. And so I've been told I can't agree with them, and that I can't ask them, like, well, how old is too old to stop sharing about Jesus? Because I don't want to live that long, apparently. So like, what is a how would we
Okay,
better engage
you bet.
that population?
I would say that you're off to a good start because there are plenty of roles that don't deal directly with children. I was at a national conference one time and I said to a crowd of people, there's probably 150 people there, and I said, do you have a slot or a place for somebody who understands the vision but literally can't stand to be around kids? And I had some people wide-eyed and are like, anathema, be accursed. Who are you? We're in children's ministry. It's all about the kids. Stop everything. Handing out water, stuffing an envelope, filling popcorn things. There are coming in on a Thursday and revving up your old carpal tunnel to get some crafts cut. I don't care what it is. There are plenty of places and spaces to serve the mission that don't deal directly with kids. Kids are very, very taxing. Somebody's like, you can't say that. The heck I can't. I can say
They
whatever
are.
I want. They
They
are
are.
taxing. They
They
are
are.
exhausting. And if I don't have a place carved out for somebody to serve the mission that doesn't that they can be not around kids, it's crazy town. So I would maximize those people. I'd plug them in. I would have all of my little operation completely set up so that their job is easy. It's not chaotic. And yes, in fact, there are some of them who I think in a pair. By the way, what am I looking for? Am I looking for a wheelchair? No. Am I looking for a walker? No. Am I looking for a young-ish 69, 70-year-old woman who's still got fight and fire? Yes, I am. I am looking for that. And here's one thing I would say in closing. I would say, hey, Connie, I got to let you know. Let me just ask. Think of all of the wisdom that you have. Wouldn't it be amazing to go back in time, have a younger body with the brain and the experiences that we have?
Mhm.
We can't go back and get a younger body. But I can tell you that wisdom that you have ought not go to waste. And I'm not asking for a lifetime commitment. I'm asking for you to give 5 half days of your life just to hang out with a couple of kids. We're going to put a young, vibrant high school student with you as a support structure. But don't let that reservoir of wisdom go to waste. If we could only go back, oh, I thought I'd say that. If I could only go back, I can't, but I can give, I can utilize my wisdom.
Yeah,
Okay,
I love that.
somebody else.
I love that.
Thank you.
Sean. Is that Sean? I can't see very well. Sean's iPad. Is that right?
She's
Oh,
trying to
she's
figure out how to
trying.
unmute, I think.
That's okay. We got Robin. Oh, wait, got Sean. Go for it, girl.
Her question was basically like mine. Most of our congregation are old, and I have heard that same thing. We've served our time. Like, I don't know how to overcome that.
Yeah, I understand. One thing I would also say to them is, back in the day, do you wish
Mm,
that somebody would have helped step in and support? If you
that's
wished it then, maybe you could be the answer to your previous prayer years ago when you had kids and it was just that tiring. We're not asking for a life. We're not asking for a limb. We're asking just to participate.
Yeah.
The other thing too, this is that what I'm getting ready to share is not popular. It's not popular. And I would say this, maybe think about whether or not your congregation has enough human resources to pull off that which you have done historically. Stick with me. There is a budget for finances. There is a budget for space. Your executive pastor is like, oh, we would love to do this idea, but we don't have the budget. Okay, so you
Right.
don't have the money,
That's
so
good.
you're tabling that idea. You don't have the space, so you're tabling that idea. If you don't have the human resources, maybe you should think about tabling that idea.
Yeah, that's good, Josh.
Just a fact. And then you can consolidate your wonderful human resources in a way that's going to be the most actionable. Because if you're strung out all over Kingdom Come, well, maybe it's time to make some hard decisions. And by the way, podcast on the Lead Ministry podcast, episode 37, girls, you need to check that out because it addresses this issue.
That's great. Yeah.
Okay, let's
So
do
I-
one more. Anybody else? We've got Robin, we've got Rebecca.
Would you repeat that episode? I want to drop that in our
Yes, episode 37
37.
of the Lead Ministry podcast. And it's going to step on your toes, but in a great way.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, this has been great.
It has been great, Josh. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I mean, from the bottom of my heart. I know you're a friend, and
That's
ladies
good.
and gentlemen, what Josh has taught, he taught me to and pulled me out of that pit that I dug myself in when I was tossed into ministry and struggling. So
Oh, yes.
thank you. Thank
And
you.
you know,
Thank you. Thank
we're
you.
all experiencing what I would call a good case of the normals. Don't
Yes.
forget that first lesson. That first lesson from Jesus was, the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. Girls with the people who aren't willing to serve. The harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. Okay, last thing. This is a freebie. Here, I'll leave you with this. You go to war with the army that you have, not the army that you wished you had.
That's good.
You wish in your mind that you had all these vibrant young moms, okay? They're just like all fired up and they're just like used to be middle managers and they can just crush everything. You wished that you had them on your team. Stop. You go to war with the army that you have, not the ones you wished you had. In addition, you build the people that you currently have into that dream team. David did not start with the mighty men. David started in a cave with the disheveled, the debtors, and the disenfranchised. They were duds, D-U-D-S. And through time and intentionality, David transformed them from duds into studs, and they became David's mighty men. I took a bunch of hodgepodge weirdos, and I do mean that lovingly. I went to war with the army that I had, and we built quite a substantial thing. And other people ended up wanting to follow because we went with who we had, not who we wished we had.
That's a great word, Josh. Thank you. That's a perfect way to end this morning, except for prayer. Would you do that for us before we leave?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
God, I pray for your help for this group of people who are listening live or who are listening on a recording. I pray that they could find heart and hope. And I pray that the kingdom would go forward. We believe that you're going to do that. And so we thank you and we love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you again. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next month on the Hive. Again, thank you, Josh. May God
You
bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you. Take care.
Thank you, guys. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.